Hi, this video is about the limitations of large language models. My name is David Hood, and I am the CEO of 42 Robots AI, and we help companies and organizations implement AI now. Get the many benefits that you can get from AI right now, but it's good to know that there are limitations. There's a lot of people out there kind of promoting large language models as these glorious things that can very soon do everything, and that there's no limit. They're implying that there's basically no limitations, and that just with a few more iterations, with like a GPT-7, all the world's problems will be solved, and it will be able to do all the things. And to me, that is a bunch of BS. There is a lot of value in LLMs. There's new capabilities, and I'll shoot a separate video on that. That are possible with LLMs that weren't possible just a year or two ago. And so there's some amazing magical things that these things can do, but there's also some very serious limitations that need to be acknowledged so that you can move forward within your organization or in terms of maybe improving your job in a way that makes sense, instead of trying to just think, oh, AGI is coming and so they're going to be able to do all the things. And in my opinion, even with AGI, I don't think it does all the things. Okay, so first of all, the way that LLMs do inference with next token prediction is a very serious limitation. There are a lot of challenges that come because of this, and this is fundamental to how the transformer architecture works right now. So, and I'm not going to go into all the different possibilities, but hopefully you can see a little bit about. It doesn't look back. It can't go back and fix things when it's doing next token prediction. It's just predicting the next token with a little bit of randomness. And so it's saying, here's the most likely next 5 tokens with these probabilities, and I'm going to pick one of those at random. This makes it so that there's a lot of things that it will not be able to do because of this. Now, this isn't as bad as it seems, at least to me. This seems like it just makes it so there's a lot of things it can't do. This creates a lot of the limitations below, but you have a lack of like long-term coherence. Is it really understanding things? I think you can say no. It can kind of get stuck in loops, and this can give it some difficulty with reasoning, and this is part of why hallucination is caused. And then there's lack of consistency. There's certain patterns that it's going to be biased towards. I don't mean bias in like a political sense. I just mean there's just certain things that it will kind of. Imagine water flowing to the lowest point because of this. So this creates a lot of the problems below. And here's another way, like, what are LLMs capable of? And there's kind of this discussion I've had with multiple people. It's a little bit challenging because I'm not sure we have the words for it, but it comes down to, are LLMs able to create new things? So are they able to discover new laws of physics that we didn't know before? And so the answer to this is actually more complex. It's not a yes and it's not a no. It's actually somewhere in between. I think it can create. I think distinguishing between recipes and ingredients is actually where the line is drawn. So it can create new recipes. You can create a Harry Potter vampire steampunk story with LLMs, and that's not creating any new ingredients, but it is creating recipes. Another like real world example is they're doing, I think, protein folding, which there's like a gazillion different combinations, but they're not creating new ingredients, they're creating new recipes for proteins. And so I don't believe right now that LLMs have shown the ability to create new ingredients. And so it's not going to create a new foundational building block. So, but it can remix all the many building blocks it has into new recipes. So I think this is a good way to think. So it can color a little bit outside the lines, but it is not going to be able to, currently as it is, it's not going to be able to color way outside the lines and create holistically new things that are just way outside of anything that we have thought of before. And then I mentioned hallucinations, and this really happens to me because you have next token prediction, and sometimes what happens is it picks an unlikely token, and then it just kind of goes off the rails and goes more and more unlikely over time. There's another reason I think sometimes where it's trying to pick the relevance of what you put in, and it's actually finding relevance where it shouldn't. So something that seems relevant for some reason or another, but actually isn't. So its ability to semantically analyze, turn chunks of text into math is not perfect. I've run tests on this to compare the vectorization of text, and sometimes it's wrong, or it's not like super wrong, but there are some cases where it suggests something is more relevant to something else than it should, or less relevant than it should. And again, I mentioned with next token prediction, it's not really truly understanding. I know that there's a sense, a pull to anthropomorphize these models to think that they're actually understanding things. They are not. They are mimicking understanding, which might be good enough for a lot of the use cases. So actually, this isn't that bad of a knock than some people think it is. These are essentially imitation engines in a way, and regurgitating the data that you've given them, maybe recombining it into new recipes, which is fine, but they can very well mimic true understanding. I imagine GPT-5, even Claude right now, the best model that's out there, it really, really feels like it understands. And in a sense, that kind of means it does and kind of means it doesn't. It's unclear how much we actually understand, or how closely this is modeling what we're actually doing as well. So let's say poor reasoning, because there's a star here because there are certain types of reasoning it does really well, and certain types of reasoning that it does really poorly that is very easy for humans. So and this is something to keep your eye on, because there are times where it's just like, why doesn't it understand this? Because it's something that is very challenging for it to reason, and I don't have like a list of good and bad because I think it's a very long list. It's actually bad at math, and this is surprising because for years, forever, way back into the 50s or whatever, when people would theorize robots, it was all about like beep bop boop bop, and they were like very good at math and not good at like language or emotions. Well, actually, it turns out, just due to the nature of this solution, it's a language model. It is not good at math. Now, I think they are improving on this, and so that there are models that are coming out that are much better at math. And maybe they just kind of bolt on like some sort of math thing onto the model, so if a math question comes in, it kind of pulls reference material from that math source. So I don't think this is a big deal, but it is kind of interesting. This is something that I've not heard anybody talk about, but this has been shown to me over and over and over again, to where eventually, if you let a large language model kind of like, let's say, talk to itself over and over again, eventually it'll go off the rails. It's inevitable, because eventually what it'll do is it'll pick an unlikely token, and then it'll get further and further from where you intended. That's just going to happen. That's why there was Devin that came out. I think it's like $1 billion company right now, but it was faked, where it was like a coder that would just kind of do it over and over. It would kind of run in a loop. And the longer it very, very quickly goes off the rails. And so this is a major challenge if you're trying to have some sort of agent that does things over and over again, that just works and works and works. And well, I don't really like the term human in the loop. I think you need a human kind of guiding it, more like steering it on a consistent basis. You're driving a car, you don't just put the direction. Well, maybe if you have a Tesla and it's the full self driving is ready, but you have to keep steering it the whole time, and at pretty much every single step. Maybe we're getting to where you can have a few steps in between, but if you just kind of like let the steering wheel go, it's going to crash. It does not have long-term memory. This is a really interesting one, because there are some people out there, some really prominent investors, who are like, somebody please build long-term memory for LLMs. And to me, we've already built it within the company. We built it very quickly, at least a first version of it, that the initial tests to me demonstrate that it works. Maybe it hasn't been fully validated, but all the signs are there. And it wasn't that challenging, despite the fact that there's all these people who are trying to build it into the model itself, and that presents a whole new challenge, and it relates to a lot of the other limitations. And this is something that I think very confidently needs to be pulled out. There's no reason, if it takes 100,000 times more energy, effort, and cost to build it, because we built this in like the first version of this is like in a week, and so with one developer, in less than a week actually. And you think about that, and there's all these companies that are just starting to get to do it, and they've got all these big teams, and they still can't figure it out. They're working really hard, putting a lot of resources into it. It's unclear if that really is worth it when there is another way to do it that works. It works really well. And in fact, now that they're still working on it, there's 100 other things we could work on. And this goes back a little bit to the bad AI architecture, where they're trying to shove all the solution into the model. To me, this is like so you have, let's say engines didn't exist, car engines, or engines at all. And so somebody invents the car engine. And essentially what people are doing is they're trying to create a car that goes really fast by putting a Lamborghini engine into a shopping cart and then just tuning the engine. Or what they're trying to do is they're trying to build the steering wheel directly into the engine. They're trying to build the brakes directly into the engine. It just doesn't make sense from a system standpoint. That's as far as I see it. And so this is a very serious limitation, because it makes it really hard to personalize things, and it's something that people very much want. GPT-7, so let's actually, this is directly related to this one. So there's this thing that I can't remember, there's a variety of different ways that this is being said, especially by like OpenAI and the bigger model companies. And I've heard other people say, oh, startups are building as if AGI won't be here soon. And it's like, yeah, you kind of have to do that. Even if AGI is 2 years away, you still kind of have to build for this. And so this is a little bit of a weird quirk, because like Sam Altman's basically like saying, hey, just wait for us to do it, and then all your problems will be solved. What? First of all, I question whether or not, depending on how they define AGI, whether or not it's actually coming soon, or what they suggest is coming really will remove all of these limitations. I think even at GPT-7, they'll put a dent in some of these limitations, but they won't be able to solve all of them unless the architecture changes, which basically the LLM architecture, the transformer architecture, has been the same 500 lines of Python code. There's some changes, but very minimal, since 2017, since Google came out with their attention is all paper. All right, so I find this to be a very self-serving statement, and I get that there are some things that startups are building that they're going to gobble up, but there's a whole world. There's so many things that they will not be able to do that you can solve right now, this year, for your business, your customers, without banking on them. Even if you're a year ahead of them and they do solve it, you're still a year ahead of them, right? So they're still a year ahead on your particular solution. And that's a really, really aggressive timeline. I find that to be very unlikely. They are not going to be able to fit every use case, every possible thing into an LLM. That just does not make sense. So if you want to have us build you a free custom AI implementation roadmap, call this number or click the link below and to contact us, and we'll get back to you, and we'll discuss how you can actually build real-world solutions now, that you're not waiting for the OpenAI to come through, which I think it's unlikely that your specific use case will be perfectly handled through their whole model, through their whole product. That seems extremely unlikely. But you can start getting benefits from AI in your business, in your life, in your organization today, now, this year, 2024. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.